Wait, not yet. Whenever you're ready.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Banana Stand. I'm your host, Kenny. Here with me, I got Johnny and Mike and our producer, Mr. Ray.
Mr. Producer, Ray.
Mr. Producer. Can we start over? Fuck.
Yeah, you could start over.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Banana Stand. I'm your host, Kenny. Here with me, I got Johnny and Mike and Mr. Producer. Today we'll be covering...
God, can you start over?
How do you want to be addressed? Let's get this down correct.
That's Mr. Producer Ray.
Mr. Producer
Mr. Ray. Producer Ray.
All right. Okay, one more time. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Banana Stand. I'm your host, Kenny. Here with me, I have Mike and Ray. Fucked up. I got it right last time on the first try.
Do you want to write it down, Kenny?
No, I got it. I got it this time.
No clicking, Mike. No clicking.
That wasn't me. That was Johnny.
No clicking.
I'm not.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna sit up straight and I'm good.
Stretch out.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Banana Stand. I'm your host, Kenny. Here I have with me Johnny and Mike and Mr. Producer, Ray. Today we'll be covering the Super Bowl. So just yesterday, we saw an incredible comeback victory by the Patriots over the Falcons. And we're just going to jump right into it. Starting with the first half, it looked like it was all Falcons. What were your guys' thoughts going through the first half? Johnny?
Well, first, I don't know. My first take is that I think we all picked the Falcons to win the game. I think we all thought that their offense would be too high-powered and too athletic for the Patriots to cover. And I think we were right for basically the entire first half. They got off to a fast start, and they looked unstoppable. It didn't look like the Patriots were going to be able to stop them for the entire game. And they got off to a quick and got off to a great lead, and it didn't hold up. And now we're stuck with the stupid Patriots fans being happy for another year.
Hey, let's pretend the game ended at the end of the first half. So all four of us were right. Our predictions were perfect. Sound good to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I hit that one right. No, I mean, I thought the first half was really as good as the Falcons could have hoped for. I mean, I think they performed even better than, the most optimistic of them could have predicted. They're firing on all cylinders on offense. They got Devonta Freeman. He was involved. Coleman, he had some big chunk gains. I think Julio had a catch in the first half, like a really beautiful sideline catch. And they just marched down the field on the Patriots. And on the other side, the Patriots really weren't able to do anything against the Falcons defense. I think last week we said the key to the game was really going to be on the Falcons generating enough pressure on Brady to, knock him down or force him to be uneasy. And we had questions on whether they would be able to do that. And they really were. They got to Brady multiple times. I think he got sacked. What is it, 5 times? Was it over the game or just in the first half?
He got sacked 5 times throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
Hit 8 times total.
He got hit a lot of times.
That's a lot.
At the same time, the Falcons, give credit to their secondary. They were able to stay with Edelman, stay with Chris Hogan, and really also limit LeGarrette Blount on the ground. And Alford, he had a really great pick six. He just read that play all the way. Jumped the pass, and anytime you get a pick six, it's really game changing. But he made it look really easy, and they just looked completely in control. You knew the Pats were going to come out the second half with something better, but it was hard for me to imagine that they would come back from that.
So what were you thinking going into that final drive of the first half? we saw the Pats. It looked like they were finally mounting a good drive, could potentially score. And then due to a Martellus Bennett holding penalty, they get set back and they have to settle for a field goal. Do you think that was still demoralizing for them, having not been able to put up as many points as they want, not get that touchdown? Or do you think they felt better going into the half with something on the board?
I think they felt demoralized, and it's hard for me to say, from the sideline on Monday morning after the game. But I don't think anytime a team walks down and they only manage to get a field goal that you feel good about it, right? It kind of feels like a sympathy. Oh shit, we can't even score. We can't get any real points on the board. Field goals are kind of like, they're compensation prizes for losers.
You say that, but they ended up coming out on top.
Yeah,
All them losers.
I think the Pats kind of felt. I think they'll always feel like they have trust in Brady to bring them back from the dead. So I think even going in down 3 scores, they just feel like, all we have to do is stop the Falcons a few times. I think their defense really just needed to step up, but I think they always have trust in the offense, always have trust in Brady to bring them back. And, I think they were probably feeling bad, but after the Falcons scored their 4th touchdown in the 3rd quarter, that's probably when they felt at their lowest and they felt like they couldn't come back. But I think at halftime they could talk themselves into it, just be like, it's just three scores and we're 18 points, but we have half of the game to go, so it's possible. But then after that touchdown, they probably felt, we can do this, but we need a lot of help from the Falcons too.
So we've talked a bit about their struggles in the first half. Do you think the Pats had any signs of life throughout that entire half? Any positive aspects to their game? Because I was thinking, I guess my thoughts when I was watching the game yesterday, I felt like the Pats were completely struggling. Then I watched highlights this morning, and I saw them pull off a couple of nice chunk gains. We started seeing them pass to James White early on. He was making progress, but they were set back by things like sacks or the fumble by LeGarrette Blount. But aside from several key mistakes, it looked like they were doing all right. I wasn't sure if you guys felt the same way, because I thought that was almost like a sign of what could come later on once they stop making those gains, once they stop giving up sacks or fumbles or interceptions.
It's hard to say. I mean, I think the Falcons thought, we got this in the bag. We had the pick 6. Our offense is rolling, and Brady looks horrible. But I think the Pats just have that experience. They'll never give up, and they always think they can win the second half and they can win the game. They're just accustomed to that pressure. Whereas the Falcons, this is their first time in this. They don't know, how to hold the lead up apparently, and they probably, they got like a little, I don't know, conservative, but I don't know. I guess not conservative, I would say, but they just felt comfortable. I think too comfortable, and they couldn't close the door.
I don't know if I agree with that assessment. I feel like, so let's talk about the Patriots first. When I was watching them in the first half, they had some plays where they were able to get yardage and get first downs, but they didn't really seem like they were able to string them together for the most part. Their longest drive was the play where they actually got picked off by Robert Alford. That was their best drive up to that point. Other than the field goal. And it never at any point did I feel, hey, this is something that the Falcons can't stop. Anytime you play a football game, you do expect that the offense is going to be able to generate something, right? You very rarely get shutouts, but I felt like the Falcons were in complete control in the first half. And I felt that, on the other side, that they were able to not quite march down the field at will, but they were able to get the chunk gains and string together the series that would get them down the field. So going into the half, I didn't think that I think New England really had a big hole to climb. And I also don't agree that the Falcons let up. I think it's just a function on the Pats began kind of piecing together the puzzle, and they figured out how to solve the Falcons defense. And the Falcons defense was really gassed. They were on the field for a really long period of time. I think at one point when the Falcons finally took the field, Joe Buck said something like, "Oh, this is the Falcon. Like this is the first time the Falcons have been on the field. The offense has been on the field in over an hour, right? Which is crazy. Even if you count in the halftime, that's a really long stretch."
Yeah, I think I agree with you, but just to Kenny's point, I would say the Pats by halftime, I think they could hang their hat on the fact that we had 2 turnovers, and if we just clean that up and have no turnovers, we could have had two scoring opportunities, and we could make this like a really close game if we just don't fumble, don't throw a pick. It's something that we can just clean up, and they really made no more mistakes in the second half and overtime, and they were right there, right? And the defense just had to step up as well.
But then again, that's only when you look at it in hindsight. When we rewatch the highlights, it seems like they were really putting together some drives and they just fell short because they messed up on a few key plays. But when I was watching it yesterday, I felt like it was such a one-sided game. So
Definitely.
Incredibly one-sided going into the half. And even I thought what really highlighted it for me was right after the pick six, it showed a clip of Tom Brady sitting on the bench with his head down by himself, just staring at the floor.
That was great. That was fantastic.
I won't lie. That made me laugh pretty hard. Almost as great as the other picture from a few years ago where you see Tom Brady sitting in the middle of the field, also looking sad like a child.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish it turned into a meme, but they won the game. So
going into the second half, what do you think they talked about during the halftime break? What do you think Belichick said to them to turn them around, to get their spirits back up?
I don't usually believe in the whole locker room speech. Oh, let's fire everyone up and everyone goes out and kicks ass. Or at least I don't for a team like the Patriots. I think they're a lot more level-headed and really strategic is the word I'd use. I think what they did the second half was they really began involving James White a lot more. In the first half, I feel he got a couple of plays, but he was kind of mixed in with LeGarrette Blount, and they tried to have Blount really carry the ball and get something on the ground. That wasn't really working. And James White is really, in my mind, the MVP of the game. I know it's crazy when Tom Brady had over 400 yards passing, but he was really a dual threat. He obviously was a receiving threat, and on the flats and things like that, he was able to make something happen. But he was also a real threat in the run game, and I think there were a couple times where Atlanta would blitz and they just run a quick screen and then he'd pick up 15 yards or something like that, right? And the threat of his ability to run and to catch, I think took Atlanta out of the rhythm. And he also had some good blocks. I think I saw him chip Vic Beasley a couple times and really slow down the pass rush.
Hey, just have to say, that was my prediction last week.
No, you didn't. You said Julio Jones.
No, we were talking about the Pats. I said that one of the weaknesses of the Falcons in their 5 losses was running backs coming out of the backfield for catches. So I thought we might see a lot of that. Brady to either Deion Lewis or James White.
Yeah, but you
pretty wrong about Lewis, but White showed up to play.
Yeah, I think what really turned around was, I think the Falcons, it's the story that the Falcons defense got gassed in the second half. They were out on the field way too long. And they had, in the first half, we really saw a lot of pressure on Brady. And and his play, like, was bad for Brady standards, and I think really, like, Vic Beasley didn't do much this entire game. I think he only got one knockdown. He had 0 tackles and 0 sacks the entire game.
I think he defended
And
the pass.
and especially that second half, I think all of us said it last week. If Brady has time, he's gonna pick apart any defense in the entire league. Like, no secondary is going to be able to stop him. But if you get pressure on him, that's the only way you can beat the Patriots. And first half, they got their pressure. They held them to 3 points. And then the second half, they were gassed. They got no pressure. Brady had all the time in the world. And you can put, all 11 guys in the secondary, but Brady will still pick you apart. And that's exactly what happened, especially out of the backfield, like you said, with James White. And, 14 catches. And it looked pretty easy. And I think if we were all watching the game, probably rooting against the Patriots. I don't know about you guys. I was rooting against the Patriots. And I was nervous the entire time. Like, I just felt like it was, once Brady got in his groove, like, it was bound to happen. I was surprised at any mistake that he made, really.
So you both mentioned that the Falcons D was pretty gassed. And I think one of the biggest contributors to that is just that the Falcons play a very up-tempo offense. They try to keep the game moving quickly so that the defense is always on their toes. And they leave so much time on the play clock. They'll snap the ball when there's 19, 20 seconds still left on the play clock. I'm doing that when you're ahead. And then when a drive stumbles and you go 3 and out, that means your defense gets right back on the field. So would you say that it's a problem with their whole game plan?
Yeah, I would. I don't think the amount of clock that they ran, I don't think it was a play clock and how quickly they ran the pace. I think it was the type of plays they ran.
So more on the play calling.
Yeah, and looking back at it, a lot of people in the media are kind of flaming Dan Quinn and Kyle Shanahan for their play calling. Looking over, when I went play by play, they actually were very efficient in the second half on offense. They got really good yardage, on their pass plays. Their pass plays were very productive. They picked up huge chunk gains, catches going for, 27 yards, 22 yards, 14 yards. They didn't really have to really challenge the Pats. Like, the Pats didn't present any sort of effective stop against the pass, other than that they were able to get pressure on Matt Ryan and get sacks and force holds. So, I mean, I think I would have liked to see them mix in a little bit more runs and slow it down. Really, I think there's only 3 plays that I had issue with, and the ones I'm going to call out. With 8:30 left in the fourth quarter, the Falcons have the ball. It's 3rd and 1. They've just run the ball twice for 9 yards, and at this point, I looked up the stats. They're 13 out of 16 for positive runs. So only 3 runs all night have not gone for positive yardage. Instead of just running Devontae Freeman, they try to be cute. They drop back to pass, and Matt Ryan gets sacked, fumbled, and the Patriots get the ball, right? And the Patriots score a couple plays later. That, I think, is one of the big plays that really changed the game. If they can get that first down, you have to think, based on how they were playing, that they're going to burn off at least another couple of minutes. So that was one. The other is later in the game with 4:40 left. At this point, they're up by 8. Julio just made a phenomenal catch. They're at the New England 22. And by the way, we need to talk about that catch later, because I think that was one of the best catches I've seen.
We'll get to that. That was
all year, really. That was a phenomenal catch by both Julio and Matt Ryan. But they're up 8. They're at the New England 22. They're in field goal range, right? If they just run the ball and kick field goal, it's going to be something like a 36-yard field goal. and they're going to be up 2 possessions with something like 3 minutes to go. You figure that New England's probably going to burn all their timeouts to try to stop it. Instead, they do one run, they drop back to pass and get sacked, and then they get a holding call on the next play, and they get it incomplete. They do get a good punt, like an excellent punt by Matt Bosher, but they're out of field goal range. They don't get any points on that possession. And then the Patriots score. So I think it's really those, they say football is a game of inches. It's really those 3 to 4 plays that I have issue with from the Falcons in the second half.
I mean, I kind of agree that those plays seemed very questionable, but at the same time, what they did has been the Falcons' identity all year long. They're the team that 3rd and 1, they'll take a chance sometimes, so they'll throw it. They've done this many times during the regular season, and it's worked for them. Like, this is who they are.
Yeah,
and
but you also got to know when you have a lead and there's time to be aggressive, and there's times where you just say, I'm so far ahead. People hate on the prevent defense and the prevent offense, but there's times you employ it.
That's true. I feel like what they were doing is trying to almost like the opposite of what the Chargers did during the regular season. So that's a team where they get up early, play prevent defense way too early on, and somehow lose in the fourth quarter. The Chargers did that repeatedly during the regular season. And that's almost like a lesson on not to play the prevent D too early. So they tried to keep the gas on the pedal, and it fell short.
Yeah, but I mean, 3rd and 1, and they've been having so much success in the run game that it's kind of silly for me that they went away from it. Part of Atlanta's strength is really that they're so versatile. If you don't want to do a run per se, maybe you do like no, I would still do a run. I think you do a run there no matter what. Benefit of hindsight, but
yeah.
So you attribute this to the poor play calling?
I do, definitely. I think you have to run in those situations, in those 2 plays that we were talking about on 31 and on the after Julio's catch with 4:40 to go in the fourth. I think you have to take off time on the clock, and you need to fuck up and just kick the field goal. And it's so easy to say in hindsight, but I think any reasonable fan could say that in real time. Why are we throwing the ball, and why are we risking a turnover? Or we've seen it 2 Super Bowls ago, with Marshawn Lynch, and all you had to do was just take the snap and kneel it would have been better than what Matt Ryan did. And he took over 4 seconds and couldn't find anyone. You have to throw that away if you can't find someone immediately. And you can't take the sack there. There's just a lot of mistakes from the Falcons offense that really, the Patriots, to their credit, took advantage of. The Patriots needed that help from the Falcons, and the Falcons just gave it to them. They made their mistakes.
That was a very painful play to watch.
Yeah, and actually, one thing I want to add. So the play before the 3rd and 1, I think Tevin Coleman got injured. So I've seen some people float, you don't want to run the ball then because if Monte gets injured, then you're screwed. Are you guys committing crimes or something?
Is that you, Johnny? Are you getting arrested?
Yeah, I live in the hood, man.
No, Asian people don't get arrested.
I guess I should have known you lived in the hood with your shitty internet.
What was I saying? Oh, so people have been floating, you don't want, if your backup just got injured, you kind of want to wait and see what the situation is before you run again. I don't get that. It's a Super Bowl. You play every man that you can. You play your best players.
I think that's stupid. Yeah, you still run it. And when Devonta Freeman came back in the game, he was confused. He missed his block, and then there's a strip sack. So you have to play. You can't change your game plan based on your personnel. And it's not like Devonta Freeman was playing great the entire game. So you have to run it, and you have to you can't call the play based on a situation that it doesn't hurt your team to run it with Devonta Freeman, right? So
I even saw a post on Twitter where it was someone quoting Matt Ryan saying that we should have ran more. So maybe that really should have. But then again, why didn't Matt Ryan just audible out of these pass plays to run?
So I saw that too. Like they were like, "Oh, Kyle Shanahan will get pissed if you audible out." I never get that. Right? You're the MVP of the season. How are you not allowed to audible out? Like why would you not just say, "Fuck that. This is my team."
He's on the way to the Niners. So what if he's mad at you?
Yeah,
he's mad at you for like what?
Who gives a shit?
12 more minutes?
Just burn that bridge any day, man. Fuck that guy.
I agree. It's the fucking Super Bowl. You're the fucking MVP of the league. Do what you can to win the game. Who cares about some garbage from Kyle Shanahan?
This is like LeBron. This would be like if LeBron was like, "No, I'm going to listen to Tyronn Lue. Let me inbound it."
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we started talking about Julio Jones a bit. What do you think happened to him in this game? We only saw 4 targets. 4 targets go Julio Jones' way for 4 catches and 87 yards total.
I think he had a phenomenal game. To be honest, he hit 4 targets. Yeah, that's not ideal, but and I don't have the benefit of the all 22, but I saw him draw a lot of coverage. He had a lot of safety help. Or the corners he was facing had a lot of safety help.
Pretty much every play, actually.
2 amazing sideline catches, and he also had 1 amazing catch over the middle, where Matt Ryan just fit into like a 12-inch box. I don't know how Matt Ryan made that pass and how Julio caught it. There was, a corner right on him, and there was a safety that was right there about to pop him, and he just made the catch. I think that's why Julio is, one of the 3 or 4 best wide receivers in the league. He had a great game. I don't know, him and Matt Ryan, they have great chemistry. I don't think that you could have realistically asked for more given how much attention he had, especially because you look at what else the Falcons did, and they were able to do whatever they wanted, really, other than the few mishaps we talked about. So he served his role. He was a decoy, and he still got production.
So we talked about the 6th sideline catch, the 2nd sideline catch, because he had 2 6 sideline catches. The more ridiculous one, where he flew over a corner. The ball was placed only just barely where he could reach it. He grabbed it, tiptoed the sideline, and then fell out. I thought that was the dagger of the game. That should have been the dagger of the game. But
yeah, that should have been the David Tyree catch. That sealed the game for them. If they just, they had the field goal. They were in field goal range, but they just needed to run 2 plays, run some clock, and then kick it in. But unfortunately, they made some mistakes, and they had the holding penalty, and Matt Ryan took the sack, and they had to punt it away. But I thought that once that Julio Jones catch happened, I thought the game was done. But
for me, that was the most depressing point of the game. Right after, when they got knocked out of field goal range, I just kept thinking to myself, that sick catch, that incredible catch by Julio Jones is going to be forgotten.
Yeah. And
it's
right after that, we had the amazing catch by Julian Edelman to even further, make that
overshadow him.
Julio Jones catch go into.
I don't think the Edelman catch is as amazing as everyone is making it seem.
How could you say that? That circus catch was incredible.
A great catch. Don't get me wrong; it's a great catch, but I feel like Julio's catch was objectively more difficult. If Edelman didn't bobble the ball at first and he just secured it, we'd be like, "Oh, that's a really nice catch. Good job." It's only because he bobbled it and then caught it again that we're really praising him so much. If you watch Julio's catch, he just skies over the corner, catches it with 1 foot cleanly, and then he does that little toe tap thing. That to me is way more impressive.
I can agree with that. The Julio catch, pure skill. That's just pure skill and talent. A little bit of luck definitely goes into Edelman's catch, as amazing as it was. So going into that final,
Yeah, but that's all part of it.
What do you say?
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
said that's all part of it. The catch more impressive. I thought Edelman's catch was so crazy, and it was at the most important time of the game, and they really, the situation of it was, I don't know. I just thought it's Tyree's catch versus like Mario Manningham's catch, right? I think Manningham's catch was more impressive, and in terms of skill, but Tyree's catch was, in terms of situation, part luck and doing it off the helmet. That just makes it more memorable.
Can agree with that. I'm going to claim that Tyree's catch is still the greatest catch of all time.
Okay, I agree with that.
No one on the Patriots remembers that anymore. They don't care.
They blocked that out of their memory.
Yeah.
I would say in terms of ranking Super Bowl catches that I remember, I would say Tyree, then the Santana Moss.
Holmes.
Oh no, Santonio Holmes is definitely number 2. I would say Julio's probably number 3, and then Edelman, and then.
Are we forgetting the Jermaine Kearse catch?
I probably am. I'm just
years ago, where he like rolls over, the ball bounces up a couple of times, and somehow it lands on his chest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I just forgot a whole bunch of Super Bowls. I really only have like 4 of them that are standing out right now.
So that one's also forgotten because shortly after that was the Malcolm Butler interception.
Yep.
So we've talked
Fucking
about
Patriots.
some highlights for this game. Any other key highlights you guys wanted to bring up besides the 6 sideline catch or the Edelman circus catch?
I think we should give props to Dante Hightower for the fumble,
The strip sack.
That was a major game changer. I think without that play, they very might well have lost the game.
Props.
And then also the James White overtime run. They would have still had
Props.
two more shots at the end zone, but that was a great run.
I feel like we completely glossed over the last 2 drives of the game, because for me, the end of the game almost seemed like when the Falcons got knocked out of field goal range. At that point, I basically assumed the Pats were going to win. But really, we should talk about those last 2 drives. What happened there? How did it seem so easy for Tom Brady to just march down the field and score 2 touchdowns?
Do we really need to go through those 2 specific drives? I feel like as soon as he made the first touchdown drive, I think we all knew. We're like, okay, if the Falcons don't come away with points on this drive, the Patriots are going to score again because Tom Brady is in the zone. There's no pass rush. He's just going to pick it apart. Like when a QB, an elite QB is in the zone, and when I say elite, I mean like Brady, Breeze, Aaron Rodgers,
Flacco.
When they're in the zone, you just know. You're like, well, fuck. If I'm not getting to them, they're going to score. That's just how it is. That's how football works, man.
It's so weird. It's so weird. But, I completely agree. Like, rooting against the Patriots and watching that game, I just felt, if the Falcons don't score, Brady's just going to run up and score the touchdown and get the 2-point conversion. And, they needed both 2-point conversions. And right after they scored, I just felt like, okay, they're going to get this one. And then once it was 28-26, I was like, okay, they're going to get this one too. It was just like, that wasn't even a very nervous moment for me. I just knew they were going to get it. And that's just the kind of thing.
You knew they were going to score too, right? You're like, well, fuck, the game's over.
Exactly. I felt like this isn't even going to be a field goal. I feel like they're just going to score the touchdown now and end this game. And I don't know. It's just like the feeling you get when you're rooting against one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Like, yeah. I don't know. I would have felt like that against maybe like Manning in his prime in our generation. I would have felt like that against Manning in his prime, Rodgers, and maybe that's it. And Brady, right? I don't know. Can you guys name another quarterback? Yeah, maybe
I would
Breeze.
say Manning. So we all seem to be rooting
Ray
against
Eli Manning.
absolutely Eli Manning.
No, Eli Manning is like the polar opposite of this. He's like, oh man, we're marching down the field. Oh fuck, there's a pick six, or oh, there's the fumble.
You're a terrible Giants fan.
I'm a realistic Giants fan. I have seen Eli blow engineer too many would-be fourth quarter comebacks just to
So you got blinders on. I always believe in Eli. So is there any consolation? Because it sounds like we're all rooting against the Patriots, or we were at least. Is there any consolation knowing that at least we witnessed greatness? At least we saw someone get 5 Super Bowls for the 5 Super Bowl rings for the first time ever. A little bit better.
Not really. Do you really care that someone else was like? No. I mean, Tom Brady was great. We all knew that beforehand. Last week we were already debating if he was the GOAT, and I think we said, yeah, he's a really good argument for being better than Montana. I don't think anything's changed over the course of 1 week.
Oh, for me, I feel like part of it is knowing that I've witnessed greatness, that it makes me feel a little bit better about it. Because if you look at older generation people, if we talk to them about football, they're going to tell us about how like the greats were Joe Montana and how we were too young to know about that. We never got to experience that. We don't know real football. But now we can say to the young kids later on, like, hey, you guys never saw Tom Brady. He destroyed my team repeatedly, but you've never seen greatness. These QBs you're watching now have never won 5 Super Bowls. So it's almost like bragging rights.
You can say that about any sport in any era. I'm sure like in the 60s, people were like, oh, you never seen shit. I don't know who was QB back in the day. Johnny Unitas, right? This is shit like that. All the Super Bowls are easy.
Shitting on the younger generation.
People wear padding. You can't just kill people on the field, right? Football's soft these days. Back in my day, 2 people would die every year on the field. Football for real men, right? And it's just say the same shit. Or like Charles Barkley's like, oh, Oscar Robertson is better than anyone else. It's just old people talk.
It is. No one gives a shit.
Tom Brady's the greatest of all time QB. Would you say Belichick's earned this spot as the greatest of all time coach after this win?
I think he was the GOAT before this win. I think Brady was the more questionable one, but Belichick, he can do it with anyone, any quarterback. And yeah, man, I fucking hate the Patriots.
So this Pats team has basically secured their position in history as one of the greatest football teams of all time.
Yeah.
How on the Falcons side? What do we think about the Falcons looking forward? What's their outlook look like?
I think they'll be back. Maybe not to the Super Bowl, but they'll be back in the playoffs. They're a young team. They have a lot of talent.
But you know who we said that about last year? That's exactly what people said about the Panthers. It's a young team. They got to the Super Bowl and they got crushed, but they'll be right back. And then
Cam Newton's a bitch. So, and
you know what, Mike?
The Panthers also they let Josh Norman go, and they didn't have any corner depth. And kind of their whole thing was, hey, we have Cam Newton, we have an unstoppable run game, and we have a sick defense. And then the sick defense went away.
Well, the Falcons are losing Shannon.
Yeah, Falcons have Matt Ryan, a sick running game, and no defense. How are they any better than the Panthers?
Because they're gonna just put the same thing they did this year, and they got some young guys like Vic Beasley is young, Keanu Neal is young. They have young guys who are like they have control of, right? You don't have a Josh Norman who's gonna hit free agency and demand a lot of money.
Well, I think it seems like you guys are already making some predictions. So let's jump into it. Let's make some bold predictions for the next season. Now that we're at the end of this one, you have anything in mind, Johnny? Bold predictions for 2017 NFL regular season.
Way too early, but I think the Falcons don't make the playoffs next year.
Oh man,
I think the Panthers are going to be better. The Saints are going to be better, and the Bucks are going to be better. And especially the Bucks, I think they're going to take over this division. and I think the Falcons are going to regress. Their defense isn't very good, and if they don't get pressure in the front forward, they really don't have a good secondary. And we saw, I mean, the last drive of the first half, holding on third down, 3 straight times, and it's just so frustrating. But their secondary is really a weak point, and unless they address it, I don't think this team. I think this team overachieved this year, and I think the Cowboys are going to be better next year. The Giants are obviously going to be better. The Eagles are actually good. I think this is it for the Falcons. Sometimes you have a really small window, and I don't think they make the playoffs next year with the much improved NFC South.
How about you, Mike? Bold prediction for the coming season?
My bold prediction is I don't think the Steelers make the playoffs, and I also don't think Seattle makes the playoffs. I don't know if those count as bold enough for you. They're certainly less bold than Johnny's, but I think both those teams have serious question marks going into next season that I don't think they can address. And I think they're going to get supplanted by other teams.
And we haven't had a chance to hear from Mr. Producer so far today. How about you, Ray? Any predictions going to the future?
So, my prediction is that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be a starting QB. But
Nice.
What team? The Browns?
I think the Browns. But I'm going to say that Brock Osweiler has a better 2017 season than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Ooh.
Whoa!
Ooh.
Hey, here's my prediction.
Put it in the books.
I think Brock Osweiler will only start 4 games next season because Tony Romo is going to the Texans.
Want to bet on it, Mike?
Nice.
Are you giving me odds? I feel like I need odds for that.
No, yeah, 4 games and under.
I think I'm going to need odds for that, given he's currently the incumbent.
Mike, if you're gonna spit a hot take like that, back it up.
Are you going to back up your hot take that the Falcons aren't going to make the playoffs?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Let's figure out some chain bet, and we'll hash out the details, and then we'll talk
Sure.
about it next week.
That'll be included in the next episode. All right, I guess it's time for my prediction. I was actually considering Falcons don't make the playoffs, but since that's been stolen from me, I'm moving on to number 2, and that's that Drew Brees is going to get the MVP. He's going to have an incredible season. Brandon Cooks is going to be a monster. Michael Thomas will take a step up and be even greater. I think we're going to see a crazy season from Drew Brees.
Do you think it's crazy that 2 quarterbacks in the NFC South have MVPs and neither are Drew Brees?
That's part of
That's-
that's my prediction. That he's come in second place or third place so many times now that it's going to have to happen.
Okay. I mean, obviously it's your prediction. I can see it happening. I feel like the Saints need a ton on defense to make that happen, because he already posted 5,200 yards and 37 TDs this season, which is fucking bonkers. I don't know how much more you can expect out of Drew Brees.
Oh, I don't expect more from Drew Brees. I think, like you said, the defense is going to get better. They're going to realize their defense is just so awful that they're going to have to throw money on that side of the ball. And if the defense steps up a bit, and they win just a couple of games, then that'll throw Drew Brees in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, I think it's a mostly a team-based award, team performance-based award. So that's why you see Jason Garrett winning the Coach of the Year. You just need a good record and be the quarterback of a team that does well. MVP.
So
But
we've
yeah, I
covered
don't
our
think he's going to
predictions.
win it.
So we've covered our predictions going on to the next season. You guys have any closing thoughts on the game before we close for the night? Maybe even not even football related. Could be about the halftime show, Lady Gaga. Any particular commercials you guys liked? You guys missed Left Shark?
Overrated, man. Overrated.
Are you saying Left Shark's overrated or Lady Gaga?
Left Shark was nice, but people need to move on from that meme, man.
I think you're wrong. I think that meme should stay alive forever.
I just want to say
Lady
that,
Gaga,
you know, at no point was I really that surprised that the Falcons blew it. That's just life of being an Atlanta fan, you know. Deep within me, I was very scared to root for the Falcons. You never believe, man, as a Atlanta fan.
Good. I hope you're miserable.
I am miserable, man.
That's what you get for hating on Eli earlier. That's your punishment.
yeah, I think it's just I don't know. It's just been a crazy year. Cleveland wins a championship. The Cubbies win. Leicester City comes back and from 5,000 to 1 odds to win.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. Clemson.
Year of comebacks.
It's just a crazy year in general, and who knows what will happen next year.
Well, it's definitely been a crazy year. Now we've come to the end of the football season, but we still have plenty of basketball left. So going to the next episode, we'll be talking more about the NBA, maybe some more about LeBron, possibly about a trade involving Love and Melo. But for now, thank you all for tuning in.
Wait, Kenny, before we finish, suck it, Mike. You lost. Go do Bikram yoga.
Oh, I missed it. Let's go back to our predictions.
Mike?
Quick cover-up.
So we should recap, right? The halftime score was 21-3. It was 28-3 at some point. I think it was 28-9 going into the fourth quarter. So total points was 37, and the over/under we bet on was 59. Patriots tie up the game. It's 28-28, 56. And then they score a touchdown in overtime. And Mike loses. Suck it.
Mike. Suck it!
Mike, I think you need to do your yoga, and we need to post the picture on social media. Otherwise, everyone's going to call us frauds forever. So you better do it.
I will do it.
And we should put a deadline on this, right? So what about 7 days or 10 days, Mike?
No, we'll do it a little bit longer. I'll be out of the country, but we'll definitely do something.
How about a month?
Yo, end of Feb. That's it.
All right, we will determine this at a future date.
Yep, I'm determining it right now. He's got 1 month. Thank you all and have a good night. Yoga for Mike.